room. And first of all, I want to all of you introduce Per and Pia. They are professors in Paus from Lund University and Sweden. So it's they visit in every fall and they have.
Doesn't matter. I don't have a specific.
No, you speak.
Whoever wants to answer it, it's fine for me. How did you experience your private quarters, and how much time did you spend there?
Okay, so private. I think it's for you too because okay. Go ahead.
So on the space station, when I was there, 3 people lived there. 2 lived in the Russian sleep stations, the cayutas, and I had my own private sleep station in the U.S. segment. It's about the size of a telephone booth. You know what that is? If you don't, you can Google it.
Yeah, it's small. I've seen it.
Yeah, they're very small, but you know you can live in the ceiling and the floor. It had a single light. It had a very nice air conditioning vent that blew air, and I slept with my head so that the air blew right across the front of my face. Right, because I didn't want that carbon dioxide cloud to be in my face. But you can sleep any orientation you want. I had a sleeping bag to the one wall, tied 4 places. And I never took my computer inside, which they do today. They have computers inside their sleep station. I didn't want mine there. I would go out after dinner, and if I did work, the computer was outside my sleep station, and I would be done, close the lid, and go in, and I took a book off the wall, Velcro to the wall, and I read for a little bit, and then it didn't matter if I let go, the book could just float inside my sleep station. So there's also some tricks you can do with your sleeping bag. If you fold your shirts and put your shirts and pants behind your sleeping bag, then you sleep that night, it kind of acts like a
iron.
Yeah, like an iron, and it keeps them kind of pressed a little bit. So you can do that. Plus, it's a great place to stow your clothes, because there's not a lot of stowage in the sleep station. Anytime you bring a bag in and stow things in it, it takes up space. So, but I only slept and cried a couple times in my sleep station.
And your experience, positive or negative, or how was the space for you, like emotionally?
Oh. Well, I'm trying to remember. I may have had a picture of my family in my sleep station, but I didn't have much inside. I didn't want it inside because that's where I went to sleep. My deal was everything else happened everywhere, but I slept here. And so all I needed to sleep was my sleeping bag, my boxer shorts, and a book. And some sleeping pills occasionally.
Thank you.
Okay, so over there in the back.
Well, I don't know who to address the question to, but is there any one of you that feels like they're more of an outdoors kind of person?
Well, what the question is about?
The question is how you perceive.
Это изолированный космический полет. Если вы перейдете еще через век вперед, наверняка будут пальмы внутри.
It's of course it's part of it. Even if you're in a can, no matter if it's a small can or the big can, it's still a can. So you don't have any nature present over there. So maybe in 100 years from now or whatever, so it will be palm tree. But it's not the case. But the вопрос был как вот насколько вам это не
Ну и
хватало?
тогда вывод, что этого, конечно, не хватает, но это ты на работе.
Well, yeah, the thing is, you are at work, you're working, and of course you're missing something, but it's part of the job, basically. That's it.
Hey, one ad. Chip Davis, Mannheim Steamroller, he has a concept called ambiance therapy. And he takes digital recordings of the desert, of the rainforests, of the woods, and he uses that to help PTSD soldiers in rehabilitation. So now you young people that are on your virtual reality goggles all the time, you need to start thinking about creating the holodeck that's on Star Trek, right? Where I pop those goggles on and I'm in that forest and I'm listening to all those cool sounds, right? Because I can see living in space for 5 months. There were times when I needed to go somewhere and I didn't want to go in my sleep station because that's where I slept. But if I went somewhere where I could put on goggles and I could put on earphones and I could just chill and maybe think I was back home for 5 minutes, that could go a long way. Cartoons, whatever. Fresh fruit comes. Those are very big psychological elements. 5, 6 months was pretty easy. Longer than that, my wife and I had talked, it would be hard. It would start to get hard. Because you have to remember that someone on the ground is doing all the things that I used to help do when I'm up here in space. And if we're going to go to Mars for 6 to 9 months and then stay there for 6 to 9 months and then take 6 to 9 months to come home, you know, nobody ever talked about Mark Watney's family when he was on The Martian, right? It was all about Mark Watney and then the crew in the other vehicle. So it can be very psychologically daunting. It's much like a football game. First quarter, everybody's excited, everybody's pumped, right? Everything's cool. Second quarter, it settles down a little bit. The teams are starting to get the hang of it, and then they take a break at halftime. Third quarter is the down period, right? They've taken a break, they come back out, they're not quite as sharp as they were at the beginning because they're not quite as excited as they were. And then the fourth quarter, oh my God, it's almost over. We gotta, I'm going home, right? So that athletic event is a big psychological pattern for I can't say all, but it was for me, for most. And the other thing I would tell you is I had really cool stuff spaced out really nicely. I launched, I got to space. Next thing, I had an EVA, spacewalk. Next thing, a crew was coming from Earth on the shuttle to visit. Next thing, I was going to grab a big module with a robotic arm and move it from one place to another. Next thing, I was going home. All of them were spaced such that every time something was over, I had something else to look forward to.
Cool. So next question, over there.
Yeah, my name is Naveen and I have a question for Dr. Mukai. So as a medical doctor, what kind of injuries and health problems do you think we need to prepare for future long duration missions, for example, to Mars? Like what kind of injuries?
The Mars, first of all, Moon
Yeah.
is very different from Mars, because up to Moon, we will be able to utilize some telemedicine,
Yeah.
or maybe robotic operations, so that crew will be benefited from the Earth resources. They can depend on Earth resources. Mars totally needs to be autonomous, so it's very different. So currently, I think the International Space Station, the small injuries, like for example, some small cut to do some suture, or maybe put some what is this? The kind of tubes when you have some problem on your pneumothorax or that kind, is the one that you can prepare. But not the big surgeries that we will be able to do it. Of course, there are several approaches to find it out how we can suck the blood or how we can secure the sanitation or that kind. But maybe small injuries or very related to the life endangered situation, like a heart attack or the resuscitation or that kind.
So for Mars, we will have to prepare a lot more and be able to do it on site.
The Mars, for example, the device, which also used for the medical emergency, the supply is limited. So we have to think which one we have to treat, which one we have to give up for that kind.
you have any suggestions on what would be most
I think it's
important?
maybe that not right now, yet,
No,
for the
that's okay.
mass.
I was just curious. Yeah.
But I think maybe we need a heart surgeon
Yeah.
on every crew, so.